Hi guys, I'm Chef J Fed, and today we are going to be talking about ribs. I'm going to show you the difference between baby back ribs, spare ribs, and St. Louis cut ribs. And I'm actually going to show you how to turn spare ribs into St. Louis cut ribs. We're going to marinate them, let them sit overnight. Tomorrow we're going to put them on the smoker and smoke them till they're delicious, and then we'll finish them up on the grill. It is going to be awesome. So first I want to show you the baby back rib. The baby back rib is the loin rib. It is from the top of the back of the pig. But the reason why baby back ribs are more expensive than spare ribs or St. Louis cut ribs is because one of the baby back ribs stays as the pork chop with the pork loin attached to it, and then the other one they use for the baby back rib. So pretty much you only get one baby back rib off of each pig. Now let's talk about the spare rib. The spare rib is a much bigger rib than the baby back rib. And as you can see on the back side, there's a lot more trimming that you have to do to clean it up, to make it look nice, to make it more edible. And if you're going to turn it into a St. Louis cut spare rib, it takes a little skill, a little effort, but is well worth it. You can leave them as spare ribs, but what I like to do is I like to take the spare rib, cut off the top of it, and turn them into St. Louis cut spare ribs, and then I take the part that I cut off and I turn those into riblets, and they make a fantastic appetizer and they are delicious. So this is the back side of the spare rib, and as you can see there's a lot of fat trim. This piece, this little meat here, is actually called the brisket, and we're going to remove this. We're going to remove all this fat. We're going to trim this off. We're going to take some of the fat off of the back of this, and then I'm going to show you how to make a cut from side to side to square off the spare ribs, and this portion will become the St. Louis cut ribs, and the top portion is what we're going to turn into our delicious riblets. So anyway, let's start trimming the spare rib and turning it into a St. Louis cut. So here's the brisket, and we're just going to slice right down parallel to the bones. Take this off. We're going to make it look really awesome. There's some trim you just want to take off. Not necessary. All this fat is inedible. There we go. A little more up top here. Nice. Okay. So, if you look at the spare rib, you can feel where the bones actually end. And as you go from one side to the other, the bone actually gets smaller and there's more of a tendon up here. So you want to go the full length of the bone. Up top here, this is called the chine bone, and we definitely want to remove that and not be a part of the St. Louis cut rib. So what we do, we feel on the end here where the bone is, where you can cut through easily. There we go. And sometimes you got to give it a little pop to cut through. There we go, a little higher. And then we're just going to come straight across. Sometimes to get through the tendons, you got to give it a little pounding. And when you get to the other side, it's definitely easier. There we go. Sometimes having a mallet, if you don't want to hurt your hand, works. And one more time through. There. So, well on the end. So here you have this beautiful St. Louis cut spare rib. So now we're going to take the St. Louis cut spare rib. This is the back side of it. And I'm going to trim off a bunch of this fat here. Expose the ribs, and what I do is I just take the boning knife and I push it down until I hit the bone and take off the fat till I get to the meat and I see the bone. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, takes a little time, but it gives you a much better presentation, much better for cooking. And a lot of people don't like to eat a lot of fat. Some people leave it on for some flavor, but typically I like to take it off. It just gives a cleaner presentation. And then another thing I like to do is there's this skin here, and in between each rib I remove this skin, silver skin, so that the ribs separate easier, and when they get smoked and you finish them and you want to separate the ribs, they just fall off so much easier, and there's not all this chewy silver skin left on there. Okay, so I finished cleaning the back of the St. Louis cut spare rib, and as you can see, it's much cleaner. It's a much nicer presentation. Remember, we eat with our eyes first, so you want your food to be pretty. Anyway, first we're going to take our lemon juice and just put some on the rib, rub it all in, flip the rib over, a little more, there we go. And then what I do is I take some of the rub and I put it in a bowl so it's easy to grab, and just take a handful, sprinkle it across the rib, and just rub it in. That's why they call it rub, baby. So we got our ribs wrapped up in saran wrap. They're marinated, they're rubbed. Tomorrow we are going to throw them on the smoker. We're going to smoke these bad boys for 3.5 hours till they are just golden delicious, amazing, and then we're going to finish them on the grill. Well, good morning. We are now ready to start smoking our ribs. As you can see, it's kind of a wet day out here, but that's okay. When I used to live in Crested Butte, I did a lot of extreme smoking in the winter, smoking in blizzards, snowstorms, cold. I love barbecue. I'll smoke anytime. So I have my awesome smoker here. We're going to put the ribs in. Here are the marinated ribs that we've had overnight, marinating in our deliciousness. We'll put them in the smoker. We'll let them go for about 5.5 hours. It's going to be just awesome. I'm very excited. Then I'll come back, we'll take them out, we'll throw them on the grill. We're going to add the barbecue sauce, glaze them. They're going to be just unbelievable. Okay, so here are the ribs, the baby backs, the St. Louis cut, and the rib tips, all in the smoker, ready to go. We're going to let them stand there for about 5.5 hours and come back and we'll see what they turned into. Well, it's been 5.5 hours. Let's check out those ribs and see how they're doing. All right, let's open this bad boy up. Oh yeah, look at that. That is looking beautiful. So what we want to do is we want to try to check for the give in the rib. These are about perfect. And they're just starting to pull off the bone. You want to have a little bit of firmness so they don't just fall apart, but you want to have it so when you're grabbing them, they're just going to start to pull apart. These are perfect, so we're going to hold these and then we'll be throwing them on the grill a little later, basting them with barbecue sauce. It is going to be spectacular. So I got the barbecue fired up. I got everything I need. We're going to start grilling these ribs and finishing them. Now the first thing that I do is I get some pan spray, and I want to coat the ribs with the pan spray, the oil coating, so that they don't stick to the grill. I do that with all meats that I'm cooking. So I'm going to put the ribs on the grill, presentation side face down, the side that I sprayed. So I've coated this side of the ribs with barbecue sauce. Now I'm going to give them a good spray so that when I flip them, they're not going to stick. Oh, those are looking good. Awesome. Now we'll start coating the other side. Oh, these are smelling so amazing. All right, now I got the second side coated, and we're going to give them one more flip. Pretty hot. Oh yeah. The barbecue sauce is being caramelized. That's what we're looking for. These guys are smelling so amazing. Okay, so now we are at the best part of this entire process. We actually get to eat our ribs. And today I'm very excited because I have two special guests who are going to try my ribs. My daughter Ellie and her friend Crimson. And a very exciting thing is Crimson has never tried ribs, so she is in for such a treat. Anyway, let me show you how we cut these ribs up. So here are the baby backs, right down here. We have the rib tips here, and these are the St. Louis cuts. So when I'm cutting my ribs, I like to flip them over, presentation side down, so that you can cut through them and see in between the bones a lot easier. So we got our St. Louis cut spare ribs here. Here are the baby back loin ribs. Flip them over again. Try to get them in the center, and we're going to cut right down through. Okay, look at those awesome, beautiful ribs. Look at the meat on those. Okay, now let me show you what these rib tips are all about. So there's so much meat on the end here, and again, these are part of the spare rib. Look at all that meat. There's a little bit of cartilage, but there's so much meat on these, and they're so tender and delicious, and they have the same flavor as the spare rib. They are just fantastic. So we're going to dig in and try these awesome ribs. Okay, so here are our rib taste testers. I have my daughter Ellie. Ellie, say hi.
Hi.
And this is her friend Crimson, who has never eaten ribs before. You guys excited to be here?
Yes.
Okay, well let's dig in. Which ones do you want to try first?
These ones.
Okay, you want to try the St. Louis spare ribs?
Yes.
Okay, each one of you grab them.
Okay.
All right, and you can dip them in the barbecue sauce if you want to. It's up to you. You know, some people say that barbecue isn't barbecue until you put barbecue sauce on them. Some people just put the rub on and leave them without barbecue sauce. But for me, I put my sauce on it. It is barbecue once the sauce is on. Anyway, dig in, guys. Let me know what you think.
They're really good.
Awesome.
Amazing.
All right, well, what I want you to do is we're going to try each of them, and I want you to tell me what you like the best and what you think the difference is between them.
Okay.
Crimson, this being your first rib experience, what do you think so
Really
far?
good.
Awesome?
I don't think I'm gonna try it. If I go to another place and get ribs, they probably won't be this good. So I'm glad that these were my first.
Well, that is a great answer. Okay, guys, next let's try those baby back ribs.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cheers. Cheers.
These are really good. Yeah. I like
What-
these ones a lot.
What do you think, what's the difference between those and the last ones you ate?
These ones have a lot more meat on them, first of all. They, I don't know.
Really flavorful, but the other
These
ones
are
were
white
good.
meat, maybe? Is this whiter meat?
They are leaner meat.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the baby backs are the loin meat, where the spare ribs, they're kind of like the ribeye of ribs, where the baby backs, you could call them the tenderloin in the rib family. Okay, now for our third taste, we're going to try the rib tips, or the riblets, which are they're coming off the spare rib. So,
Okay.
have at it, guys.
Okay, I'm gonna dip in that barbecue sauce. They're
These
definitely
are
like a little more tender, a little less.
A little more flavorful, definitely.
Yep, they have more fat in them than the baby backs do. Well, I am so proud of you guys chowing down on some pig, on some pork, on some deliciousness. I'm so glad you guys could be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm glad we could be a part of this too.
Okay.
Me too.
Well, you guys keep digging in, and thank you so much. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so glad you guys were able to check this out. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below. And if you really like the video and you'd like to see more, please subscribe for our next video coming out. It's going to be so exciting. So thank you so much. Have a great day.